Beyonce won Album of the Year, and people are losing their minds on the internet. And by the internet, I mean TikTok. I was genuinely surprised to see how upset people were. I thought we were all in agreement that Album of the Year was overdue for Beyonce, but I don't know. Maybe that was just some of us, because some people are acting crazy. But I am ecstatic that Cowboy Carter won. It is long overdue for Beyonce. Cowboy Carter was amazing. Most of my top songs from the year were from that album, so I did my fair share of listening. I will be at the Cowboy Carter tour. I don't have tickets yet because they're not on sale, but I will be in there fighting for my tickets. Anyway, I want to do a little sketchbook spread today to celebrate the win of Cowboy Carter. So let's get into it. Okay, I just want to say as we get started here that if you enjoy any of the content on my channel, please, please, please like and subscribe. I am an artist, but I also am obsessed with all things pop culture, and I really just want a place where I can ramble about these things and draw my silly little pictures, so tap in. Okay, so as you see, I'm getting started here, and I've done a sketch. I really love doing a sketch with a color because it doesn't smudge in the same way that a regular pencil does. You know, the regular pencil is gray, so it doesn't exactly blend well with the rest of your colors that you're using on top of it. And I'm going in here with my micron pen just because I don't want to lose that base sketch. Like, the really important parts to me, I want to make sure that they stay even as I'm building up layers of acrylic markers. And really, this step didn't do that much. I think I was just doing it to make myself feel better, but I do feel like I could have just jumped in with the acrylic markers and been totally fine. And because this is a sketchbook spread, you know, I didn't try to focus too much on getting every single detail of the face correct. I really just wanted to like keep my pencil moving and actually get started rather than getting tied up in the details. If this was a larger painting, or if I was painting on a jacket or doing something that I deem as more intense, then I would have spent a bit more time. The picture on the left is from the Beyonce bowl on Christmas. I really, really loved her hair, and I loved the lighting of that shot. And the picture on the right, I think it's from an awards show. I'm not sure. It's from last year, and it was on her Instagram, and I really love that pose that she's been doing this whole time during the Cowboy Carter cycle. There were a few different shades of brown in this pack. It's the anime pack of the Arrtx Acrylic markers. And I chose the brown that was in the middle just to start blocking out some of the shadows. This really helps me when I'm in the beginning of figuring out where things are going to be placed, is just to go in with the most obvious strokes. So I'll blur my image, like I'll blur my eyes and glance at the reference and then compare it to my image and really just lay down the most distinct changes in value. I don't know if it's like obvious in the way that my hand looks, but I'm definitely being very timid here. I get so nervous when I'm starting with like those first few brush strokes or whatever it is, like the first few times that I use the marker. I get so nervous, so I'm kind of like doing as little as I can, but the more I put down on the page, the easier things get for me because I like figure out how to maneuver and how to adjust with what's being put down. All that to say, like, once you start, things will get easier, but you have to have something on the page to work with. Okay, bars. So here I'm going in and like blocking out where the suit falls, and in the reference image she's wearing black, so I didn't like want a ton of black on this page, so I'm going in with this blue, which I think is so pretty. I love an electric like cobalt pop of blue to work with. And here I'm starting to block in the hair, and really I don't really have rules with hair, honestly. I feel like my main thing is I like for it to look kind of unfinished. You'll never catch me drawing each strand one at a time. Like, I kind of like to look at where the shadows fall and get a sense of how the hair moves in general. I like for it to be full. I like for it to be bouncy, curly. So I'm not really big on getting too detailed with the hair. Like, honestly, one of my favorite things is to fully like render how the face looks and make that super hyper detailed, and then just leave the hair as kind of this moving entity that just looks very flowy and pretty. I also really struggle with when to put text on an image, and I don't know if sometimes I ruin my illustrations that I spend so much time on if I ruin it by adding words, but honestly I don't think so. I just genuinely love the way that type looks, so I think it's always going to add to my composition. And this one I added the bang here coming, it looks like it's coming from her little pointer fingers. And I started off with that basic same color of blue that I did her jacket in, and now I'm going in with a darker shade of blue and adding some dimension. And really I'm just trying to like go in and do like one thing at a time to add up layers because I don't want it to be super flat. I'm really trying hard to make quick decisions, not to get it over with, but just to be decisive. I'm a very, very indecisive person in pretty much every aspect of my life, but I like to be able to like move through this and feel like I'm getting something accomplished because usually it turns out looking really good. So I'm like, just trust your instincts. I'm adding that little drop shadow pop of red. It's very sign painter vibe-ish, which honestly has been an inspiration for me in my hand lettering, I guess, since like college. I had a very big phase with sign painting. Not that I was doing a lot of it, I was just trying to emulate it in my graphic design work and in my sketchbook stuff. And going back to the jacket here, I'm really trying to like focus on not filling in the jacket completely. I personally think when you're using markers, like to fill in a whole space feels boring to me. Like I like to be intentional about where you're leaving white space and where you're leaving the page poking through. It's really just personal preference, but it's just something that I like. So it seems like you can tell I'm thinking here about where I'm placing each of the blue strokes. And now back to the word bang. I'm adding this outline to make it kind of feel like smoke. I did it in that warm yellow color because I wanted to add the yellow in to not just have this be a red, white, and blue page because that is a little too patriotic, even though this album is about America and its troubled history. Going back into the jacket and adding that darker blue, which is the same blue that I used in the words, so everything is coordinated. And I'm really trying to use a limited color palette. I tend to like the way that those sketchbook spreads look. I think it just makes everything a little bit more cohesive, so I've been trying to narrow down my colors to make everything feel really tight. So I'm focusing on red, that royal blue, and then this warm yellow. And then we've got, the pops of like the black, and then also her skin tone color, which I'll say that was a bit of an issue because the pack of markers that I have, there's not really a wide variety of beiges and browns and tans that would be like my skin color or a black person's skin color, but that's just because I chose the anime pack that's very bright colors. So I would like to purchase more eventually that have more of a skin tone range because I think that would make these a lot easier, these sketchbook spreads. And here I'm just going back in with the micron pen to add some more detail. I don't always do this, but I like the way it looks. And if I think that I can't accomplish something with the marker pens, then I'll just go in with the micron pen because I know I can get down to brass tacks with it. Is that the right phrase? And now I'm going and adding in some highlights with the blue. I really just love the way the markers layer and the texture that it gives. And adding in my white Jelly Roll pen. I really abuse that thing, let me tell you. I decided to fill in the yellow around the word because I think it looks a lot nicer. And you'll notice I'm not filling it in totally, like I'm still leaving gaps so you can see the page poking through. I just think it kind of gives it its own texture. Like that's part of the beauty of markers. I just really like the way that they look, so I'm fine with things looking a little bit scribbled or like half filled in, unfinished. Like I really do like that kind of vibe. And then I'm just going back in with the micron because it's nice to add in a little bit more detail. And then same with my white Jelly Roll pen. I love this thing. By this point, I'm feeling pretty good about this page. There's not really much more that I want to do, so I'm about ready to move on to the next. And even though I left the background white, I think that's fine because I think I want to do more of a full color spread on the left side. So that way it looks balanced overall as a spread. I try and take into account what each side is going to look like so that it comes together as one nice little sketchbook spread. So here I am starting on the left side of the sketchbook spread. This is where she was performing at the Beyonce Bowl. And again, I think you can tell I'm a little bit timid here. It's really hard making these initial brush strokes because you feel like you're messing up your sketch. And yeah, you just feel like you have to tread lightly until you just gain the confidence to start like actually laying down color, which is what I'm doing here. And I think also because I didn't feel confident in the markers that I had for her skin tone, that it was kind of like making me hesitant to really dive in, because the colors that I was using for her skin tone were also the colors that I was using for her hair. And I was like, is she just going to look like one monochromatic thing? Which, to be fair, I mean, Beyonce's hair is very light, so she does have a kind of monochromatic look. Like, she hasn't had dark hair in a very long time. Maybe I should have gone with the platinum hair. I don't know. I think it turned out okay, but you can tell I was like a little bit nervous. And I mean, like, it looks like like her eyes are bruised right now, or like she's got on crazy eyeshadow. I think at this point I'm feeling a little bit more confident and just like blocking in color. And the important thing for me is, like, when I feel uncertain, is to like just keep going and push past that point. As long as I'm like making sure that I'm keeping my reference in, you know, within my eyesight and just moving forward, like, that's all you can do, because it's not going to get better if you just like stop working on it. Sometimes your eyes do need a break, but sometimes you just have to put more down on the paper to really see how things are working together. Like, I can already tell it's like starting to feel better, and I'm feeling a little bit more confident in my movements here. But while I am working on her face, I do want to talk about the reception to Cowboy Carter winning at the Grammys. I was a little bit disappointed. Not a little bit, very. And I'm trying not to be like personally offended when people like say they don't like Beyonce, but I just feel like people are so unnecessarily rude sometimes. And I was just like so happy that she finally won Album of the Year for this album, which is more than deserving. And I know all of her fans are like, she should have won it in the past, and she should have. Do you know how upset I was that Renaissance lost? Like, just insane. But I was really taken aback by some of the comments online, so I don't know. It was a little bit disappointing. But I think overall, I mean, the Grammys were fantastic, and I think as a Beyonce fan, a music fan, I was just like very satisfied with everything. Like, all of the performances. Sabrina Carpenter was amazing. Like, Doechii was incredible. Just so many artists really bringing it this year. And I'm always going to be happy for Beyonce. She's still putting herself out on a limb creatively. Honestly, it reminds me of another one of my favorite creatives of all time, Quincy Jones, known as a producer. But by the time he died, you know, he was like a music mogul. He was always switching up his creative outlet. And I feel like that's kind of like the school of thought that Beyonce comes from, where she's like not just going to settle with something she's always done. She's going to try and switch it up, which is what I try to do as an artist as well. I really am loving these markers. I've used them quite a few times, and it's just a fun way to achieve a different kind of marker look. Although I do love my alcohol markers as well, and I'm excited to use both of those on a spread because I think they can be used for different things. Actually, I did a picture of Io Adebri recently where I used both my alcohol markers and my acrylic markers, and it turned out so cute. But I'm excited to keep experimenting with these and hopefully get more colors that speak to more skin tones, which was my own fault for not buying those in the first place. But now I'm working on her Cowboy Carter sash, and I wanted to make sure that was at least peeking through a little bit. I just think it looks so fun. Like, seeing the letters is such a nice like graphic touch. And this is getting towards the end of this side of the spread. And it's at this point that I'm kind of trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of it. I definitely think I want the full page to be colored in because I left so much white space on the other page. It just makes sense to me to make it a little bit balanced. And I think at this point I'm deciding to leave the hat white just like it was in her performance. Oh, and this is where I'm writing, "Hello, Beyonce." Touching up that red lip, of course. And then I'm going in and coloring the background, making it the same blue as the suit to tie all of this together. And I ended up adding some stars to complement the stars on the right side of the page as well. I'm going in with my Micron pen here just to add some detail to those words. And overall, I'm really loving how this turned out. I think it looks so nice as a spread, and then I really like them individually. This was a fun little I think this probably took me 2 hours, an hour and a half maybe, not including the sketch. But this was a fun afternoon drawing session. And if you want either of these available as prints, they are both up on my website. And then I also turned them both into t-shirt designs as well. So check that out. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, or you will not get Cowboy Carter tickets. See you next time.